Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Renegade Operative here, and I wanted to talk about some rather unfortunate news today for a lot of gamers out there on the Xbox side. Now I'm talking about Scalebound, the exclusive IP that was coming to the Xbox One that has unfortunately been canceled. Microsoft put the kibosh on that. They released a statement, and I'm going to get into some thoughts that I had about Scalebound, what I personally thought about the idea. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history. I'm going to talk about Platinum and Microsoft's history. I'm going to get into all that stuff about new IPs in general on the Microsoft side and what they should do next. So let's get into the nitty gritty, and that is the first topic here, and we're going to talk about what Scalebound was. Scalebound was this larger than life open world action adventure game by Platinum Games. They were going to tout this idea that you can play around with your friends in 4-player co-op, and there was these massive vistas and dragons everywhere. You can get on top of the dragons and use them in combat against other enemies. And to be perfectly honest, to give my personal thoughts on Scalebound, I thought the idea was kind of very just grandiose at the time. Even though I wasn't personally going to run out of my way to go out and get an Xbox One for it, with the Windows 10 integration, I believe that I probably would have gave the game a shot through there, but it wasn't really screaming I have to go out and buy this game immediately. I just thought that it was a larger than life idea that looked like it had some promise. Now, I was a harsh critic of Scalebound for good reason when I saw the Gamescom 2016 trailer. That trailer in particular, where they showed Scalebound gameplay, it was god awful. Now I know that was probably in pre-alpha phase, but that gameplay's frame rate, it really wasn't the best, and it showed. And I was wondering at that point, can Kamiya make a game this ambitious and hold up a stable frame rate? Now, this is where it ties into the problems that Scalebound had. Apparently, there was a development hell status. Apparently, the game was like canceled well before we were acknowledged today, so the rumors were floating around today. And then there was that weird and strange tweet that showed off that Kamiya and Microsoft didn't have the best relationship, so I could assume that this tied into the relationship with Platinum and Microsoft not being the greatest. He said, "Are Microsoft fucking with me releasing this gameplay early? Is not ready to be shown off yet." I'm just paraphrasing, but something tells me that he really didn't want that displayed at Gamescom, and Microsoft were just pushing it. And apparently Phil Spencer does not like when games are repeatedly delayed. Now, if this was the true reason and you can't come to an agreement on a business deal where a lot of money is poured into something and the publishers are unhappy, then obviously the next step is to either try to make it work or walk away altogether while you can wash your hands clean while you still can. And I believe that's exactly what Microsoft did. They probably saw no progression in this project to their interests, and then when they saw this, they just decided to cut the cord and let Platinum tend to their own devices. Now, apparently, from what I heard, they do own the IP to Scalebound, which leads into the next question: what is Microsoft going to do with the IP? Now, it's very detrimental if they do nothing with it at all. If they don't see the potential in it later down the line, you're just sitting on the IP, not doing anything with it, not showing anything to the public where they might be interested in the revival of an IP like this. Because I was thinking, maybe Platinum is not all for naught. They can go back and make a spiritual successor. Kamiya doesn't have to be disappointed and depressed. He can just put a new name to his work and decide to continue from there if Microsoft really owns the license. But at the same time, I do think that Microsoft is not going to sell the IP to a competitor like Sony. As much as I would love Sony to pick something like that up, their best bet is to make a deal with Platinum Games, continue a spiritual successor behind the scenes, and make it into their own thing. They are doing a lot of massive support from what I've seen for Lost Soul aside, and that game looked pretty impressive. Remember, this was made by one guy, so I assume that the ball could be picked up by anyone else anytime if it's just done right. But for now, Microsoft isn't probably going to do anything with this IP in my opinion, but the opportunities are right for the future. They just need to take advantage of this. Now, for Microsoft and Platinum, I mean, Platinum Games, in my opinion, I have played a lot of great Platinum games, in my opinion. I mean, I loved Anarchy Reigns. I loved the demo for Bayonetta. I can't say much about the full game, but I did play the demo for the first entry, and I thought it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed Metal Gear Rising. But Platinum Games, they have issues that are very prevalent. And one of the issues is their games are short. Their games are extremely short, and the replay value is just like, it's not even there. Zilch. Nothing. Nada. It's just, you go through the game time and time again on different difficulties. They don't offer much to the table when it comes to length of the overall story. And that kind of sucks because, I think they have a lot of potential, but they keep getting shafted because they keep working on projects where they have to rush through. And I was saying this earlier in my own Discord group, that for a hack and slash, you cannot rush that sort of quality you're trying to work on, because for a hack and slash, you have to make sure that a lot of stuff is fine-tuned. Where hack and slash games suffer the most when it comes to the development being boosted up so the game could be either rushed out early or put on another platform, it definitely shows in the department of two factors: cut content, where they have to ultimately scrap some ideas from the game in order to meet that deadline of development time, or if it comes to performance. And we've seen some games readily butchered when it comes to stuff like Ninja Gaiden, Sigma 2, and some other games will either suffer from frame rate issues or region differences, or just the ultimate removal of content that was in the previous games. So, them putting out Ninja Turtles, them putting out all this stuff with a tight deadline, they keep falling into the same Platinum traps or tropes where their games are short, their games might not have the best story, and it's just really getting very samey, if you ask me, if that's even a word. It's getting very similar to the stuff that they make previously. They might have some sort of grip with working on a lot of good gameplay, but the rest is just irrelevant. And it sucks because I think that, they can make some good games, but they also made some shitty ones like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that cannot be disputed. Their licensed games are not amazing, in my opinion. I think that one way Platinum Games could improve on a lot of the issues that they have, a lot of the tropes that they have, is very simple. Just stop taking the money from these publishers and putting yourself on strict deadlines. I know that it's tempting. I know that this pot of gold at the end of the fucking rainbow makes you want to steal it like a fucking leprechaun, but you just can't take the money, get on these contracts, and then you wind up putting out a half-assed project because you're on this strict deadline. They need to stop that, focus on their core, focus on expanding their studios, perhaps getting more people, because apparently Platinum Games only has 200 employees as far as we are aware of. There's probably more, but I heard they are a very small development team. So maybe they could expand. Maybe they could, restructure and do a lot of good things with changing some policies and some rules to what they lend out, to what they get in terms of licensing, to how they work on their games in particular, so people really give them enough time to iron out and polish all the issues so they don't fall into these traps with their modern games. As for Microsoft, I'm going to keep this brief, but this is Strike 2. You cancel Scalebound and you want to work on your other IPs, and then there's some IPs that you have like Phantom Dust where the development kind of shifted a little bit. Now you don't offer any more information or updates on that game. There's Crackdown 3, no updates as far as I'm aware of. They had a trailer I think last year. I think they also had a pre-alpha gameplay shown off at Gamescom. So that's Strike 2, and what I mean by Strike 2 is that's Scalebound and that's Fable gone. I don't think they are in a position to lose more IPs because this is what Sony has over Microsoft. They have a lot more variety, they have a lot more IPs to give to the common gamer. They have a lot more in terms of like just certain Eastern influence games and certain Western influence games. It's like you can find the best of both worlds on a PlayStation 4, or if you love the crap out of multiplayer and customizing your experience to high hell, then of course you would get a PC. So what Microsoft needs to do is they need to capitalize on killer apps in order to succeed. And I know that this might seem very difficult for some people to understand. Some people still think that, oh, killer apps really don't matter these days. They do. And one reason why it really matters is because 6th generation. Look at how the PS2 totally dominated the competition. It wasn't even the most powerful console out of the Xbox and GameCube. And because of the library, people bought more PlayStation 2s. So they need those killer apps. They need to put those at the forefront. I believe if they did that, they would be just fine, because I do think that Phil Spencer is he's a far cry from Don Matrick as far as PR goes. He can handle a lot of stuff with PR. Now, I don't always agree with him, but I believe they did a solid for themselves after that whole DRM fiasco by getting Phil Spencer in there. But what they need to do is capitalize on these new IPs that they're promising to the gamer and really just step up their A game in terms of presentations. So I'm gonna give some final thoughts here. I mean, there's a lot of people making fun of the Xbox fanatics for losing out on this IP, and I agree. It's fine to rib these guys because they say the dumbest shit ever. They say the most stupid, asinine shit about either a Sony exclusive flopping or, oh, you guys are getting knacked too, hopefully you enjoy that L. So seeing them get their ass kicked is pretty entertaining, but I do believe that the game being canceled is just not good for everyone, because I mean, even us Windows 10 users, we lose out on playing that experience. So a cancellation is just never good. When something doesn't work out, it's never the greatest feeling in your life, and I believe that sort of philosophy just falls in line well with Scalebound. So hopefully Platinum Games, the next game they make, they take these considerations into account about not rushing their products and try to make, more staff members, try to make more resources so they can have a better tomorrow, because the last thing you want to see is seeing them go bankrupt. This is Renegade Operative signing off. So I'm going to talk about Microsoft's blanket statement about Scalebound. There's not much you need to know. This is the statement they issued when they announced that Scalebound was canceled. It's blanket PR to still make you feel good as an Xbox One consumer. So I'm going to read it off anyway, and I'm going to do my outro. So here we go. Here's Microsoft's statement about canceling Scalebound. We're working hard to deliver an amazing lineup of our games to our fans this year, including Halo Wars 2, Crackdown 3, State of Decay 2, Sea of Thieves, and other great experiences. It's basically to make you feel good about all the other games coming out, but you definitely won't be getting your hands on Scalebound. So this is Renegade Operative signing off. It's unfortunate, like I said, but hopefully maybe something like this comes to light in the near future and someone can take the reins. I will see you guys next time. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Renegade Operative out.